Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Like we do every Wednesday, we have the privilege and the honor to have a conversation with the man leading the charge, Coach Jay Johnson. They just got off the field in Athens, Georgia, so we appreciate your time, Coach. We're not going to keep you long. I know you got a lot of things to do, but again, thank you so much for coming on the show. How's Athens? It's a little bit of a bandbox over there, isn't it?
Yeah, it seemed like it in batting practice, and that's not such a bad thing for our team. So, nice weather. It's not hot. It's not humid. It's really nice, and ball is carrying.
Love that.
Don't be getting any ideas.
What does that mean?
I'm just saying, weather's nice here too, Coach.
Oh, that's very hot over here, actually. Very hot.
Makes you tough.
Coach, let's jump into it. So last night, obviously, was the last non-conference game of the season, last midweek game of the season. Y'all won. Y'all beat McNeese 7-4. McNeese is obviously a really good baseball team. They have a really good record. The game wasn't played defensively. It wasn't played probably up to the caliber that y'all wanted to. But coming off of a weekend at Mississippi State where the bullpen didn't pitch very well, they come in last night and kind of weathered the storm of having some miscues defensively and only gave up 4 runs, was able to get out of trouble. What did you like from your pitching staff and your bullpen in particular last night?
Yeah, we had a meeting before the game, and Wes is entirely in charge of those guys. I just met with them, and we just made 2 objectives for moving forward. Number one is when you come in the game, we're bringing you in to get the first guy out. Like, there's a reason we're bringing you in at a certain time for a certain matchup and whatnot. So we reshuffled the deck, restructured some routines of what they're doing in the bullpen prior to coming into the game to be ready to go. For sometimes that's throw more, throw less. For the hyper intense guy, it's probably a little bit more about breathing. For the casual guy, it's probably about getting ramped up a little bit more. Make sure they're incredibly dialed in with the report. We always try to communicate what we need them to do when they come in the game, while they're warming up, those types of things. So to be really good at that. And we used 5 pitchers. 4 of the 5 guys got the first guy that they faced last night. So that was great. And then secondly, and more importantly even than that probably, is we just got to get a little bit better reset when something goes bad, whether it's a walk, an error, a bad umpire call, or a hit, and just kind of keep everything small. And Blake Money did it a couple times. Griffin Herring walked a guy and got through it. We made 2 errors in 1 inning behind him, and he kept it at a 1-run inning. So 1 run in 3 innings for Griffin. Gavin Guidry got a 2-0 count and was able to rebound from that and strike 2 guys out. And then Thatcher came in and blew the doors off the guy to end the game. So I was very, very pleased with those guys last night. It was a really good effort.
Coach, you mentioned Blake Money. Obviously, he started the game. He threw, I think, 3 innings. He threw 2 2/3, and he was, cruising through it. And then he gave up, obviously, the bunt single. But what I liked a lot from him, he gave up 5 straight singles. They weren't a couple line drives to center, but they weren't anything crazy. And he just kept battling. They ended up striking the next guy out to end the inning, right? It's like I'd much rather, at least on my side, someone say, I'm going to compete, I'm going to throw strikes, and the likelihood of a team getting 5 straight hits isn't very high if you're not walking guys. But I was impressed to see him, give up those 5 hits, gather himself, regroup, and then punch that guy out. I know you mentioned it, but that's got to be pretty encouraging for you to see.
Yeah, for sure. He's quietly done a nice job for us. I thought he threw strikes. I thought he set a good tempo. We had a 3-0 lead after two innings, largely because he went out there and was really efficient in what he was doing. And then he got the first 2 guys out. And, we made a decision to go ahead and give the drag to their 4-hole hitter who has the most power and, can drive the ball. And with 2 outs, you kind of need to get to second base for their offense to score. So we went ahead and gave it to him, thinking that it's highly unlikely that they were going to get, 3 or 4 hits in a row, let alone 5. But you know what? I'm fine with Blake's performance. I thought he competed. I thought he threw strikes. If he can give us more of that, that's a really good thing for our team.
Coach, so organically, there's things that you can't control, and you can speak on it as much as you want. It kind of I won't say it goes by the wayside, but there's just some things that are out of your control. You spoke about guys being able to re-energize with the 2 series losses coming at pretty much the best time for you to be able to re-energize right at the end of school. Are you hoping for the team to be able to kind of jump forward and kind of put that stuff behind them as well as the ending of school and be able to kind of reset, re-energize, and kind of push themselves forward through the rest of the season?
Well, I think the end of school is great. I think it takes away – I don't want to call school a distraction because that's partly what –
But there's a lot going on at the end of it.
Well, we're trying to do some really big things here, but that's a stressor. We'll call it a stressor that's off their plate now, which I think is good. As far as the baseball, like, we just want to play well. Yeah. Like, that's the most important thing to me because we have talented players, and if we play well, we give ourselves a chance to win, and that's why we've won 40 games. And sometimes, like last night, I thought we pitched well. I didn't think we played particularly well, but we still found a way to win. So this team has some of that. So we want to play better, and we're working on every ounce of that. I mean, it's game 50, and you would have thought today was more like a spring training day in terms of what we were doing and trying to execute and practice, and that's just the way we're going to go about doing it. But these guys compete, they play hard, they care a lot. Hit a little bit of speed bump in the play, which had been very consistent, and just working to get back at it.
I mean, you got it. So. For me, at least, I'm not obviously around these guys all the time, but going through a season and not having too much adversity outside of the injuries, like these last 2 weeks, like this shows you a lot about the character and the personality of your team, right? Like we've talked to a few of the guys, we've talked to, Jamie came on and talked a little bit about analytics and all these types of things, and everybody has the same message, and it doesn't feel like it's fake. It feels very genuine where, hey, we're not worried, we understand it, they're going to get through it, hey, mental toughness, we've been preaching this all year. And it's got to be, I guess, nice on your side. You don't want to lose games by any means, right? Like, I get that. But it's nice to see these guys respond the way that they are responding in light of this adversity. And now there's finally some pressure being put on them as far as, okay, maybe they're not as good, but the way they're responding has got to be very encouraging.
Yeah, for sure. And not a surprise. I mean, a lot of the core of the team was here last year. Right. And, we fought through some adversity there and had a pretty good season outside of going to Omaha. So they know what it looks like, how to do that. We played a very veteran lineup last night, just from the standpoint of we got to try to get guys that can settle into the game and overcome things. And I think it paid off in yesterday's game, and was very pleased with that. But, yeah, the mindset piece, we're very clear on what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. And we're just in a deal where you get tested, 10 weeks in a row. And, it's can't be better explained than the defending national champions not even going to the conference tournament, and it might be the last 2 defending national champions not at the conference tournament. And I believe baseball is the only sport that could happen, and the SEC is the only league that could happen in. And so we've been tested, I won't say broken, but, been beaten up a little bit. And you keep going, you keep responding. And yesterday's game has nothing to do with tomorrow's game unless you let it. And so our job is to keep improving, keep the right mindset, keep competing, keep their energy underneath them and their focus underneath them, and go for it. And these guys care a lot. And it's reflected, I guess, maybe in how they talk about handling the situation.
Coach, the depth of your squad has kind of been shown throughout the year. I think last night kind of showed up again when we watched Travinski play first base last night. It doesn't really come as a surprise because of how hot he's been. It's hard to keep that bat off the field. Is that something we should look for to see even more as you keep going here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if anybody, which I know you guys do, pay attention a lot, I've been playing him a lot lately. And we should be playing him a lot lately because the ability to change the game obviously is there with one swing. The difference is he's not a guy with talent. He's a great hitter right now. And, really adds a lot of length to the lineup. Not only is he driving balls in the gap and over the fence, I mean, he's getting a lot of singles with 2 outs, line drive, standing approach. He's seeing the ball really, really well. And I really like seeing him come up there. I mean, he was puking his guts out and had to get an IV the other day on Sunday, which was unfortunate. We had to take him out of the game because it would have been nice to have him up there in the 9th inning. But that it is what it is. But he's okay. Obviously, he played last night, and really, really happy with his progression. I really want to praise his attitude too. Sometimes as an older player, it's hard to not be in there at the forefront, and he wasn't, just because he's been basically hurt for a year and a half. And we have other good players. Brady Neal's a really good player. Alex is a really good player, and so it was kind of hard to get Hayden in there, but he just stayed ready. He kept working, was a team-first guy, and I could kind of start to see some improvement coming, and we've stuck him in there, and he's doing a great job right now.
Coach, Javen Coleman gets to start again on on Saturday. He got to start last Sunday. I feel like he was pretty effective. What can we expect from him? Is he starting to lengthen out a little bit more, or is he still on a pretty strict pitch count and pretty short leash?
Well, we're just not going to know until we get there. And what I mean by that is we were moving in that direction. We went ULL, Ole Miss, Alabama. We were in a great spot, and we kept moving up. We were at about 42 or 45 pitches against Alabama. Then he threw the first inning against Auburn, and then had a massive drop in his velocity and his command in the second inning. We had to take him out. Like, it wasn't there. So we made the decision this week, depending on how the first two games went, to start him so he could get his full routine of throwing, everything he needs to do to get him ready to pitch. He knew he was taking the mound at 1:02 p.m. And that seemed to work a little bit better and allowed him to move through 2 2/3 and 50 pitches. But we're probably not going to know until we get there. And that's okay, because I'm happy with any contribution we can get from him right now.
Coach, it's been pretty apparent that teams have not been afraid to put Dylan on, even with who's been hitting behind him and what he's done on the year. Would you say it's a fair assessment to say the guys that are hitting in front of him are a very, very, very big part in getting him back on track and getting him where he can play at the top of his game?
Yeah, and that's why, you get two old guys. You got guys that have had as many college at-bats as anybody else. And, you need them to run really good ones. And for the most part, they have. Part of the thought and Sunday in the ninth inning in bunting was like, Trey Morgan's going to get a fastball to hit. He just has to hit a line drive instead of a fly ball. And he hit a line drive that just hung up in the air too long. But those guys have done a good job. They're great players. They don't get talked a lot about because of Dylan and Tommy. And, when you get two hitters like that, that's how that happens. But, yeah, they're invested. They're running team at bats. They got outside of it a little bit last night and didn't allow us to function at the top of the order as well as we want to. The bottom of the order actually is the reason we won the game for the most part, which is just shows how good an offensive lineup we have. But, yeah, we really need Gavin and Trey to run really good at bats, because it puts Dylan in a position to be successful. And I've hit him third for most of the year because I just want him coming up with as many guys on base as possible. And we think those guys give us a chance to do that.
But you mentioned both those guys, and you mentioned them a little bit after the game yesterday and how they're kind of banged up. Obviously, you're in the last 3 games of the regular season. Baseball's a long year. People don't think that baseball is as physical as it actually is. And, at this point in the season, everybody's got bumps and bruises, and everybody's kind of dragging a little bit, and they're just trying to get through to be able to get that next season started, so to say, in the postseason. What's the status of the guys that are a little bit banged up? Obviously, Gavin had banged up his shoulder a little bit, stayed in the game. Trey Morgan's been, banged up a tad. Obviously, he's not showing it. They're fighting through it. What's the status on these guys? How are they feeling? And how looking forward are you and these guys to this 3 or 4 day break before the SEC tournament?
Yeah, that's one of the main motivations is to, see if we can get that extra day by not having to play till Wednesday, to get an opportunity for those guys to recover. And they're playing through stuff, and there's probably like 5 or 6 of them that are doing that, and they're tough. And so we don't talk about it, but it kind of limits some things that they can do and we can do that, I'm not going to talk about because it's not a competitive advantage for us to do that. But they're grinders. They're awesome. We've won 80 games here in 2 years, and the reason is because of Dylan and Trey and Jordan and Gavin, and all these guys are playing through something, and you wouldn't even know it. And that's the type of people and tough competitors that they are.
Coach, obviously it's all hands on deck for every game that you have this weekend to finish out the regular season slate. would you say that the outcome of this weekend has a good bit to do with how you schedule the pitching matchups going towards the SEC tournament?
Yeah, it could, but I mean, I know this is going to sound a little strange, but like we want to play so we can keep improving and getting better.
Yep.
And it might not seem like the thing you're supposed to be thinking about, but for us, it always comes back to that. We don't validate ourselves by our record or our standing or our ranking or anything. It's like how we're doing what we think we need to do to play well in the game to win. And, there's some things that we need to do better right now, things we've done well throughout the year that we can get back to, and some things we just need to do better than we have throughout. So, we kind of want to go for it. It doesn't mean, just blow everything out and not worry about the NCAA tournament. But if we can play 3 or 4 games while we're down there, I think that might be a good thing for our team.
Coach, you played Georgia this weekend. Georgia was a very hot team about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They seemed like they were kind of making their push to make a run at being a top 16 seed, a top 25 team. And then they had a couple setbacks. They got swept at Missouri. They're a very, very talented team. They have a freshman who's got 20-plus home runs. What does Georgia do? It seems like a lot of teams are starting to say, all right, Paul Skeens we're not going to be able to, if we don't have a bona fide ace, like we're not going to be able to beat him. So we're going to put a guy there, and we're going to put our other starters on Saturday and Sunday, or second and third starters. This weekend you face 3 lefties. What does Georgia pose? Like, what challenges does Georgia pose to y'all?
Yeah, I think from a mindset, I think we've gotten everybody's best shot
for
whatever
absolutely.
rhyme or reason. But I mean, they're on life support, and you back not because they're a dog, but you back a dog into the corner, they're gonna scratch claw and try to bite you and
Right.
all that. They have no choice but to go for it and win. In terms of their NCAA tournament hope. So you're gonna get a highly competitive team. They have an old team, so I'm sure this is a lot of guys last time they're going to play at home. So they have some good emotional, pull stuff for this weekend. As far as their lineup, it's very veteran. It's very much the same as the team that we played last year in Baton Rouge, and they're all just a year older. You mentioned Charlie Condon. He's one of the best hitters in the country right now. And then pitching-wise, again, as I look through this, they have talent and they have ability. And so we have to take really good at-bats. We have to play defense, and pitchers have to throw strikes and execute. And excited to do that.
Yep. Coach, listen, I know you've had a long day. You had a travel day. You had practice. Again, I appreciate all of your time. I appreciate your generosity with your time. Good luck this weekend. We're going to be watching. Hopefully, obviously y'all do what y'all are expected to do, and y'all win, and y'all get that top 4 seed. Y'all get an extra day, and then hopefully we see y'all in Hoover. I say hopefully because we're trying to get the boys together. You know how it is. Sometimes Lloyd, you don't know where he's going to be sometimes, and
Such a ricochet shot for no reason, Coach.
Straight bullets.
yeah, well,
Get it together, man.
Oh, I know,
let's go.
That's it. That's
Pack
it.
up the car and
That's
let's
it.
get there.
Let's go.
Great for road trips.
Great for road trips. You are a great road trip
Don't
guy.
drive.
Coach, I appreciate your time. Enjoy Athens. We'll see you in Hoover. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys.